We've got an incredibly powerful story to unpack today, capturing the absolute magic of the beautiful game. But before we get into the goals and the tactics, I want you to just picture something. Imagine you're standing inside the colossal Estadio Azteca, under those glowing night lights. Close your eyes for a second. The national anthem begins to play, and the sheer weight of the history, it just washes right over you.
ESPN's Cesar Hernandez, he captured this profound human connection so perfectly from the stands that night. He wrote, "I quietly broke down as I thought of my Mexican grandmother, a supporter of the sport and of El Tri, who died just weeks before the start of the tournament. With my emotions getting swept up in a festive atmosphere, I thought of the connection between the past and present." It's incredibly moving, isn't it? Just hearing that slight tremble in the voice, picturing those tears reflecting the stadium lights, you realize this opener wasn't just a match, it was a deeply personal communion between generations.
Okay, let's dive into this and look at the monumental weight of the moment. With the kickoff against South Africa, Mexico officially cemented its name in the history books as the very first nation to ever host 3 FIFA World Cups. Just think about that for a second. To host the world's biggest sporting event 3 times, that is absolutely unprecedented. The energy pulsing through the stadium wasn't just hometown pride, it was the realization that they were witnessing history happen right there on that glowing green pitch.
Section 1. Echoes of '86, the journey back to the Azteca.
Let's move to the timeline and see how this all builds up. Because to truly grasp the significance of today, we have to track this heavily burdened journey. We start with the golden years, right? 1970 and 1986. Both times Mexico hosted previously, they reached the quarterfinals, which set a massive benchmark that really lifted the entire nation's hopes. But then, well, decades of stagnation. From 1994 all the way to 2018, we saw 6 consecutive, agonizing round of 16 finishes, followed by an embarrassing group stage exit in 2022. But that brings us to 2026, the optimistic return to home soil. It's a fresh, deeply sentimental reset for a nation that is just desperate to reclaim its glory.
And honestly, nobody feels the immense weight of that timeline more than the man guiding El Tri today. 40 years. It has been 40 long years since the World Cup was last hosted in Mexico. And exactly 40 years ago, head coach Javier Aguirre wasn't standing on the sidelines holding a clipboard. No, he was out there on the field wearing the jersey as a player. The sheer nostalgia and the staggering pressure resting on his shoulders today is immense.
Now, what's really interesting here is how Aguirre understands the psychological intimidation of the Aztecas better than anyone else. He told the media, they are young, they needed to live this experience. And he flat out admitted, it's a brutal setting, it makes your legs shake a bit. You come from the training center to the stadium, and that makes the players say, wow. This cathedral of soccer, it physically impacts you. It puts you in a very strong emotional state.
Section 2. Sombreros and goals. The match explodes into joy.
Well, those pre-game nerves, they didn't last long at all. Right before the opening whistle, in this completely spontaneous moment of unbridled joy, the fans took these giveaway paper sombreros they'd received and just hurled thousands of them high into the night air. It wasn't some planned act of rebellion, it was just a massive festive release of 40 years of waiting. It set the absolute perfect stage for the host to catch everyone completely by surprise.
And man, did they surprise them. The players fed right off that chaotic, joyous energy. In literally just the 9th minute, Julián Quiñones brought incredible unpredictability to the pitch, striking early and burying the ball in the back of the net. The stadium absolutely erupted, and yeah, even more sombreros went flying. Then, answering the decades-long prayers of the fans, Raúl Jiménez stepped up in the second half. He found the back of the net, cementing a dominant 2-0 victory. Music is blaring from the speakers. Delirious fans are yelping and hugging. It was an atmosphere of pure, unadulterated bliss.
Section 3. A bittersweet victory. Chaos on the pitch.
So the crucial point we need to talk about next is the fallout, because as with any massive party, things can sometimes get just a little out of hand, right? The intensity of the match really boiled over in the second half. The referee was forced to pull out the red card not once, not twice, but 3 separate times. Now, 2 of those red cards went to South Africa, sending them down to 9 men. But unfortunately for the hosts, one of those red cards was shown to Mexico. It momentarily halted the pure bliss of the evening and brought a heavy dose of reality right back to the stadium.
And this brilliantly illustrates the dual nature of opening night. On one hand, you have a phenomenal 2-0 victory, a confident, dominant display against a cautious opponent. But on the other hand, there's a severe cost, the bittersweet loss of starting defender César Montes, who was sent off with that red card.
Now Coach Aguirre has a sudden defensive gap to fill as they look ahead to their second group game against South Korea. Aguirre noted that Edson Alvarez is the likely candidate to step in and play center back in Montez's place. It's definitely a next man up mentality, but it's a serious complication they really didn't need.
Plus, the hosts really shouldn't get too carried away just yet. Yes, the emotion was incredibly high, but if we're speaking analytically here, South Africa played a highly passive, overly cautious game. Even when the visitors had all 11 players on the pitch, they frankly didn't give a very good account of themselves. They gave Mexico entirely too much respect, allowing the home side to easily knock the ball around and maintain their lead. So, the real tests, they are absolutely still to come. But you know, at the end of the day, tonight wasn't primarily about the tactical data. It was about the heart of the sport returning home. Down in a shop in Mexico City, there was this knockoff World Cup shirt that simply read, World Cup Legacy 8626, and right below the text, there was an image of a father wearing the number 86 standing next to his son wearing the number 26. And honestly, that is what this explainer is truly about. Generations holding hands across 40 years. The grandmothers remembered in the stands, the fathers passing the torch to their sons, the shared human experience woven into the very fabric of this tournament.
Which leaves us with a final burning question to think about. Mexico has the passion. They have the stadium. They have the 2-0 opening win. But will this deeply emotional, jubilant victory actually be the spark that breaks decades of stagnation? Can this 2026 squad use the awe-inspiring energy of the Azteca to finally forge a new, historic legacy for El Tri? We're going to be watching every single minute to find out. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time as the rest of the tournament unfolds.